Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Non-Traditional Headspace. Hello there, humans and non-humans. I hope you're doing great. Today's episode, we're going to focus on something that is trending on social media right now, but at the same time, it's nothing new. It's nothing that we don't know of or have not experienced if we are a foreigner that is living abroad for a while or recently. It doesn't matter when. This can happen to you at any given time. And if it has happened to you, please share your experience because I would love to hear what your experience has been and how have you approached it. What I'm talking about is these trending videos that are going on online about people who start, ranting or just openly sharing what has happened to them when it comes to sending money back home or receiving messages, calls, any type of communication from family, friends, or people who they might have never thought would reach out for any type of help in general, or just these expectations of what people have when it comes to your situation when you are abroad and what they expect to get in return, whether it's some sort of aid, of help, of retribution, or just feeding on guilt sometimes to, use it as well in order to get something from you. So let me show you some clips, and there is one in particular that became quite viral, I would say, from a lady that is Honduran. And I'm glad that she did it in English because, of course, we're doing this in English today. So here it is.
If you're a Latino and you have family members back in your country, you don't need to feel guilty about not sending them money. Yesterday, I got a call from my niece, and I've never met her in my life. I've been in this country for 40 years, and I have never met my niece. And the phone call always begins the same way. How are you? She wants to know about me because she wants to sweeten me up in some kind of way. So she'll always start with me, but it almost immediately turns to her and how her life is so miserable in Honduras. So then she starts to tell me that there are no jobs, and it's the same story over and over. I've heard it before, right? And then she goes, I really want to buy two pigs.
Now, of course, the video goes on because it's a long video. You can go and check it out online yourself. But after her video, a lot of other people from different countries started sharing as well. And it's interesting because I am a Honduran woman, just like she is. And although I am not in the United States, where I think, I think she is there, right? I'm not in the US. I am in Europe now. And after her video was posted, there's a lot of people sharing that are foreigners living in Europe that are receiving the same type of requests by living abroad. And the ladies that have shared are also girls from or people from Africa in this case, because I particularly happen to be in France, for example, and of course, there's a lot of African people that have immigrated here because of the proximity. I've always said this before. The proximity is one of the reasons why the African people usually come and immigrate to Europe countries. So here is another example of a short clip from somebody else's experience here.
You have family members back in your country, you don't need to feel guilty about not sending them money.
So I'm not a Latina, but I no longer feel guilty about sending my family back in Nigeria money. They have tried to sabotage my life. They tried to sabotage my father's life, but I'm not the type of person that will look back on past mistakes and be like, oh, I'm just going to forget about it. I decided to give them a chance. And basically, they were plotting and planning behind my back. The way how I know is because in 2021, I got into a life-changing car accident. I nearly died. And in the process, my daughter that I was carrying at the time died. And guess what? When my auntie, whose granddaughter and grandson I had sent money to pay for hospital bills for, called me, the only thing that she could do is wish me ill. So at the end of the day, I take care of me. I take care of my family. When my grandmother in Nigeria was alive, I did try my best to honor her and give her her flowers, but that was the extent of my generosity. Another thing too is that when my dad came from Nigeria in 1980, they took advantage of him. He purchased many lands, properties. He built a hospital. He built a school. And at the end of the day, they squandered all of his land, all of his property, and any savings and finances that he had in Nigeria. Imagine land of that time that only cost a couple thousand now, going for I guess 5 figures in US dollars now. So at the end of the day, I don't feel sorry for not sending them money. I don't feel guilty. I mean, anybody that's coming from behind me and want to harm me, then I have to protect myself and my family. And I love what this auntie is doing. Like, she's tried. Nobody can blame her.
And I totally agree. I could not agree more. They do have a reason why they are complaining, because in the end it's some sort of a complaint, about what's going on in this situation. I want to take it today a little bit further, though. I'll explain to you how later. But sure, I've heard this, like, particularly to me, it has only happened like 3 times. And I will go down on where and from whom, okay? Friends, no. Acquaintances, yes. It happened to me once. Somebody sent me a message. It was before coming here. I was living abroad, which means I had left Honduras already. And somebody contacted me and asked me for... they always reach out mostly when it comes to money, They try to get money. Like, they think that because you're abroad, you have a better situation, which can be the case or cannot be the case. Not everybody has the best experience when they just immediately have moved abroad, but they assume it for some reason. And so they reach out and they start asking for a loan, which, let's be honest, a loan, is it really a loan, or is it something that will never come back? So I have this, criteria about doing something. If you fall for it, if you actually end up accepting to do it, helping someone, sending money or whatever, just forget about it. You give it, and don't be an Indian giver, which is don't start nitpicking on the person because you did that favor or you loaned something and they never came back. Because the reality is 99% of the times you won't be getting it back. Okay, you won't be paid back. So, and the other experiences that I've had are particularly from family members who for some reason expect, and this is where I want to take it further, but I still don't want to go into it right now. So from family members, let's just leave it at that. Let's talk about the whole situation that's going on in social media still. Let's keep there. Now, quiet as it's kept, we know that people keep doing this. It's the diaspora, it's whatever you want to call it, just moving abroad, expectations, like I said, or people just trying to play other people. And I've heard it so many times as well. Like, I have friends that have received contact from either family members, again, or that faraway cousin that you never heard of, like, in years. But now, for some reason, they know that you are abroad and they send you messages expecting for you to loan them that money or send them something back home. And like that lady and the other people are saying, we, and I include myself here, we shouldn't feel guilty about not always being there to say yes and caving in to send stuff or provide in general. And I think that Latin American culture, this has an attachment, and we're entering now that place where I wanted to take you to. That attachment of having to be there for family Always, always. You always have to provide, you always have to support, and you always have to be complying to whatever it is that they need, because you never know when will you need from them, or you never know when you might end up in their situation. Like, their situation, fine. What about my situation? What about all the struggles that I may go into? I might not be going through struggles, but what about me? Why do I always have to care for others? But when is that reciprocation coming back? Just saying. And they have made such a good job sometimes in the Latin American culture to like put that ingrained in your brain that you have to provide and be there for family no matter what. No matter what. No matter if you had a strong fight with them and they became very insulting towards you. No matter if they have played you before, which means you have already loaned money and never came back, or you have already, put your part in whatever situation is going on and it never came back. Like, nobody ever said even a thank you, like that woman said. Like, not even a real thank you. Like, next call, next contact that you get is to either ask for more or pretend that that event of you giving before never happened, and they just randomly asked for something else again, just to see if you click the bait. People keep falling for it. I have friends that keep falling for it. Like, they have this attachment to family. And the problem is that in Latin America, that is also connected again, and I will not stop saying this, to religion. Like, religion is a weapon there. Like, they have made sure that they're able to use it in order to use it as a way of brainwashing people to think that whatever is written on the Bible, which is taken most of the times, again, 90% of the times, is taken out of context for their own benefit, whoever it is, most of the time. People just use that. It's like the constitution of countries now. Like, people don't respect it at all. They use it at their convenience, and that's that. So very much like that is religion in Latin American countries. And there's this Bible verse in Deuteronomy. You know what I'm talking about. If you went to church and you were like forced to go to church and forced into religion, like I was in my family, and nothing wrong with that. Like, building, values on religion, it's not a bad thing. But there's levels of doing it, and being extremist and becoming a fanatic is not one of them. So again, this is something that I am really concerned about because I've seen it so many times. And the fact that people are still complaining about these things is because people still consider these things to be normal. And it's a cultural thing. And I'm sure that this lady would have wanted to go deeper on it. And if she could have, she probably could relate it to that as well. Like, the fact that even though she has never met this person before physically, that's just even worse. Or maybe not. Actually, if it's people that that you have already, even lived with them before, like close family, and they keep treating you this way in which they try to take advantage of you all the time, that's just fucked up. Okay? But it happens. And they expect more, and they expect more, and they expect more. And so what I was saying from that Bible verse in Deuteronomy is like, oh, you have to honor your parents so you can have a long livelihood. I mean, yeah, but what does the word honoring entitle? Just question, because I'm tired of having that Bible verse thrown around whenever it's convenient to say, and when the reality is that maybe they're expecting to get something, because parents do this, some parents do this to their children as well. They throw those verses around in order to like play mind games with their children, to let them know that they should be there for their parents. But I mean, honoring your parents is, yes, respecting them. For sure. You cannot be disrespectful towards your parents. You shouldn't, okay? But does that mean that they should expect, check every month with an ominous amount of money? I don't know. Is is that even possible for some people? No. Most people can't do that. Can't afford to do it. They cannot even afford their own private lives, but they feel this strong pressure of having to deliver back to their families because it's a pressure that has been there since we're little. And because I'm going to be open with you through these episodes, I want to share my personal situation, which is that. I have this constant pressure in my mind subconsciously all the time that I have to have enough money saved or a good financial situation because I know that sooner or later I will find myself in the situation where I will have to provide for my parents in one way or another, and my siblings as well. I don't know if they care as much as I do in terms of the stress that I have. Not saying that they don't care. So let's clarify that. Not saying that they don't care. But I do stress about it a lot. Okay? Whether I express it or not, because people think that just because you're calling your parents daily, that's showing that you care. No, like caring is being there when the time comes and it's needed. Okay? That's caring. Like showing up when the time's needed. And it has happened to our family in grandparent situations where the grandparent has fallen ill. And my grandma, for example, is turning 100 years old this year. Like, I'm fucking afraid of that. Because what if I last that long in life? Like, yeah. Normally, you would be happy, to have such longevity. But in these cases, in Latin America, that is actually a curse to live that long because the healthcare is not there, and just to be provided with good care in general from family itself is hard. Like, nobody wants to deal with an old person that has so many health demands by that age. I get it. It's difficult. I get it. It's hard. It's time consuming. It's energy consuming. I've seen it closely because my parents have had to deal with that situation. And I'm sure they're the siblings as well. But it's so shitty to see how a family turns around towards each other when it comes to money circumstances. Because, of course, they don't want to take care of the bills. Nobody wants to take care of the bills. And, Honduras has no retirement plans. So the retirement plans, if you have children, are probably going to be your own children. So all of this is chained to this rant that is going on in social media. Do you start linking the things? So that attachment that is engraved in people since they're young, since family nucleuses, is there. But when time comes, when the real deal time, most people just, disappear. Like when it's like this strong responsibilities of taking care of somebody who's really ill, old, and, is going to a hard situation. But they will be there to ask for things when they really could do something to solve their own problems, just like all of us are doing. We're dealing with shit, all of us, whether you are in your home country, whether you have left, and whether you're in plans of leaving. All of us are going through shit. And the fact that some people don't consider that, I know there's jokes about this, but I think that sometimes we need to take these topics more seriously because they are more serious than they seem. Like, I've seen like very, very funny ones, sarcastic ones, but if you look deep down into them, you'll realize that what they're saying or transmitting is the actual truth. That's what happens. Somebody reaches out, oh, how you doing? Blah, blah. But then the next thing that comes up is like, could you please help me with, damn it. Like, when was the last time I did that? Like, when was the last time I reached out and asked somebody to loan me money, to send me something? I can't remember. And it's not out of ego. Okay, it's not out of ego that I'm ashamed or anything. It's just that I try to solve things on my own in order not to become a burden to somebody else. Because we should try, at least if you're not sending something back home because you can't, at least try not to be a burden. Try to behave like a responsible person. You know what I'm saying? Like, stop spending money on stupid shit and actually do your work at taking control of your finances. I'm not saying that I don't spend money on stupid shit, but at least, like I say, at least I'm not being a burden for somebody else. For now. Knock on wood that I won't. But yeah, and I've heard stories, like people who have to take care of their entire family. And it starts small, You start small, you start providing. Somebody loses their job at the household, and then you take over, and suddenly it becomes normalcy. And then you're stuck with that toxic cycle of contributing all the time and being there and solving the problems for everybody else. And you never get out of the hole because you have to be providing all the time. So these are the issues that we see more often. And then people get so used to taking, and never giving back. Like, if that's the comfort of things, they never give back. And they know that you're there for the people who make the mistake. I can tell you that I have learned to say no. Like, I have learned to say no. And people consider me a bitch sometimes. I don't care. But trust me, I'm doing you a favor as well. Because you don't want to strain a relationship. And there's a saying in Spanish, like, if you want to lose friends, loan them money. Lend them money. And that couldn't be more true. Whether it's family or friends, if there's money involved, you're going to shit in the relationship. Like, most of the cases, it ends up bad. You start discussing about money. And yeah, I've experienced that. Like, I've experienced relationships that have broken because of money issues or anything related to money. So I do firmly believe in that. So yeah, people taking in all the time, and then they get used to it. And there's a lot of people that just enable it. If you are one of these persons that enables others, just stop it, okay? You think you're helping, but you're not really helping. So that it's when it becomes the helping that hurts. So just don't do it, because you will realize that if you stop doing it, they will be fine no matter what. They probably will be fine. If they're young, like, they're not that old, they probably will be fine. And even if they're your parents sometimes, they will be fine. And that's even worse, because sometimes they're so shitty parents. And and this is being a shitty parent, because they know that they are dependable on their child or children, how many they are, of asking all the time. And yes, I know the situation. I know that, like I said, in Honduras, there's no retirement plan. I know the situation is difficult. It is. It is difficult. Economically, it is difficult. I'm not saying that it's not. But damn it. You have to let your child live their life too. They expect their children to start providing. So, because they're older. But the truth is, you know what? If we see it coldly, like, I've had this conversation with other people, and of course it's easier to say it for them because they will never be or have never been in these situations with family or friends or whatever it is that is close to them back home, where they have to provide at some point in some way. So what they tell you is, but why? Why didn't they make better decisions? That's not your fault. That's not your fault. And if you coldly think about it, they're right. They're right when they say it. It's not our fault. But we still stress about it, but we still think about it. Like I said, I personally subconsciously have this pressure in my mind that if I don't, amass enough money, I will find myself in a situation where I will have to sacrifice my personal life to be able to provide for them as well. Because nobody likes to see somebody that they love suffer, right? Nobody does. So I'm anticipating to that because that's not the actual situation for me now, but I anticipate to it and I stress mentally over it all the time. I'm not gonna lie. I do stress about it so much. Like, have you ever found yourself like waking up at the middle of the night or just having bad dreams about these things? Or just, you know, staring at the floor one day or every now and then and just thinking about these things like, fuck, what am I going to do? Like, because you start to relate your actual situations with what might happen next, and that comes into mind. And it's really something that we do stress about. And again, the religion part is a determinator in the Latin culture specifically, because we're taught that we have to be there, and if you don't, you're going to be punished by God. And the type of punishments that God might give you is that you will never prosper, and that everything that you do will never fructify because you haven't honored your parents by providing for them. And that's a very general term to saying you should always be there and make sure that your parents are okay, whether it's financially or economically or any given way. You always have to be there and retribute to your parents no matter what. And the sad part is that some parents expect their children to send copious amounts of money because that's a way of showing them that you love them, or with material things, or giving them expensive gifts. It's sad, but that's the truth of our culture, and I'm sorry, but that's the truth. They expect material things all the time. And it's not that it's not important. Like every now and then, I wouldn't say that it's bad, to show affection in these ways, but that's not the only way. Like being there is actually being there, having great communication. That's being there. Having your son or daughter's back by giving them good, rational advice, not speaking to them in Bible verses. I totally agree with the rants. I think there is a great deal of work that has to be done. You don't have to feel obligated to do it. Just don't, they'll be fine. What about your life? What about you living your own life? What about you getting your life together? When are you going to leave the household? When are you going to be independent? You can't, because you're carrying all these people on your back and you feel guilty about it. Just don't, okay? Because you have to live your life as well. No. You know what? People have to start being accountable for their own decisions and mistakes. And when people start doing that, then all of us will start feeling more relieved from this situation. But it's a reality. In our culture, I'm speaking about Latin American culture, this is a stressful situation. And there's a lot of families that live through this type of cultural manifestation of how they should be raised and live. And they go through life and they keep it that way. And it's so sad. And we should break the pattern. I'm telling you, if you're listening and you're living abroad and you are in a situation, whether it's family, you know what it's called? Let's call it by its name. Sometimes it's called extortion, because I've had this situation when somebody told me, if you don't lend them that money, it means that you don't love them. I'm like, fuck that shit. Then I call me a bitch. Call me a bitch. I am that bitch. Okay? If you're going through that, I'm just telling you, live in the now, which is make sure that you take care of yourself. And you know what? Again, talking about therapy and those things, maybe sometimes you do really need to talk to somebody because it's not normal. I'm telling you, whether you like it or not, it's not normal. Forget about the idea of you have to be there the whole time. Forget about it. Sometimes you have to be there for yourself as well. So be there for yourself. Talk to someone and they will give you another perspective. And the reality is that you have to live in the now. And part of living in the now is taking care of yourself. And then when you are the best version of who you are, you will be able to love and show those people that you love who that better version of yourself is. And that's what it's all about. It's not about giving them material things. It's not about bringing gifts back home whenever you travel. It's not cool. It's like, and whenever the box with things doesn't arrive, it's like they're offended at some point. Like, oh, he forgot about me or she forgot about me. Like, they don't love me anymore. And that is something that we should learn from other cultures and countries, because they're not so attached to material things like we are. Like, yeah, I'm not saying that every now and then it's nice if you have the capacity to do it and you feel like doing it, go ahead and do it. But don't do it because people expect you to do it. Don't do it because of that. Just don't. Truth is, you have to ask yourself too, have you ever gotten back something as well? Just asking, because some people just forget about themselves. I explained to you, it links to cultural backgrounds, it links to religious backgrounds, and it also links to the fact that they're not teaching people, especially again in Latin America, how to take care of their finances. This is something that they don't teach us back home, like saving money. Like, this is something that I have learned later on. Like, my mom is really good at saving. Till this day, I still don't understand how she's done it. And guess what? These are the conversations that we are not having. We're not sharing. These are the actual conversations that would help later on for us to have more stability in general. But we're not having those conversations because the focus mostly, in my family in particular, has to do with religion. It's not that I don't believe in God or I don't have my spiritual side. I do have it. That's very personal, as you know. But I wish I could have learned these earlier in my life, and how to save more, how to make better financial decisions, how to invest. Because saving is not enough these days, Just having money in a bank account that is not giving you any type of interest or any revolving at your favor, it's not doing anything there. As a matter of fact, these days, it's losing its value. Like the fact that the reality in the world, especially in Latin America or America, the entire continent, including the United States, which is one of the most fucked up countries when it comes to people and their savings. Truth is, people are living just for each day, one day at a time. Like, they cannot afford to have any savings. Why? Because we're taught, again, to consume all the time, not save. And this is where living on the now becomes contradictory, because their idea of living on the now is enjoy all the money now and don't care about tomorrow. But yeah, you should enjoy, but you shouldn't just spend everything and not think about whatever might happen in the future, which could be an emergency fund or anything. Do you know which is the basic formula that people should apply? For instance, it's 50% of your income should be kept for all of the expenses that you should normally have, like the budget that you should have, paying everything. Of course, this is talking all after taxes, which is a given that you will have to pay. And then 30% should be in things that you want or like to do, like regular things that you want to just, enjoy. But from those wants and everything, there's a limit to what you really want or what you really need. So in that 30%, you have to learn how to identify that. And then the 20% should be used for saving, whether it's 10% for saving for a property that you want to invest in, or you have the idea in the future of investing on, or 10% of actual investment in investment accounts, whether it has to do with, these days there's a lot of people going on about investing in cryptocurrencies or the SP 500, which is the most stable companies, out there, like anything. But the idea of investing has never been brought to us like a possibility, because we don't think about these things. They're not teaching this, and there's a reason why they're not teaching it, because it's very convenient to keep everybody spending all their money. spending all their money on sending money back home because you have to be responsible. And this is profitable for the countries, you know? This is the game that countries are playing. Countries like United States, profiting about the fact of having immigrants and doing the hard job that nobody wants to do. We know that there's going on a huge mess, and I know this too here. So they depend on that. But at the same time, they make sure to keep you ignorant as you do it, as you immigrate, as you provide for your family back home, because it's quite convenient for them to, profit out of that money that you're sending back home. Because if you didn't know, they do profit from that, okay? It's exempted from taxes. So they do profit from that. So there you go. Boom, it's there, out there. Wake up, people. Let's wake up. And for sure, what we don't have to do is keep ourselves in the ignorance. And being ignorant includes all of this, includes sending money back home for the wrong reasons or to the wrong people. Okay, not saying that you should not do it at all. Just know when, where, and to whom. Just make the right choices if you decide to do it. And if you need to cut off someone right now, cut them off immediately. If they're doing it for the wrong reasons, you will realize that they will be okay magically. Because guess what? They were leeching from you. And again, being in ignorance is not being prudent with your money. Being ignorant is not trying to seek out more information about this. And just to throw in some numbers, again, like CNBC, for instance, 2023, and this is talking about the American culture, made an analysis of how much people have in their savings account. 50% had 500 or less for emergency funds available. Like if something happened, they can only count on 500 US dollars or less. 29% had 501 to 5,000. And then the other 21%, had more than 5,000 or more. But these are people who are in another level, of income. But the fact that 50%, which is half of the population, has 500 or less in their savings account, that's alarming. In UK, the United Kingdom, they also spend a lot of money and they have no savings. The places where I realized that it's doing much better is here, the European Union. There is a lot of debatable things that come with it, because they have benefits about the fact that their tax collection is working, okay, in some way, because they do have a good health system. They do have a good retirement plan system, although they have been, fighting over it. And I have my opinions on how people take advantage of it here too, because I've seen it. I've seen people take advantage of the system here. And it's funny because they usually expect for you as a foreigner, an immigrant, to come here and take advantage of their system. But the reality is that their own people are the ones taking more advantage of it than anyone else here. This is what I'm talking about my actual situation here, what I've seen here. Okay, but they do save more because they spend less in stupid stuff. Okay, they're more frugal when it comes to spending on material things. They focus more on other things that are more important and valuable in life. That's true. I've seen it too. And they don't care. Just to give examples, because some people don't understand if you don't give examples, they don't care about driving the ultimate model of the car or the ultimate, they don't dress like to impress. They dress because they love combining things and being authentic and unique and kind of having a style. But it's not that they will go out of their way to impress others by wearing brands, and which is quite ironic also. You know why? Because luxury brands mostly come from here. And guess what? They're not even wearing them. We're not talking about the highly rich people from here. We're talking about standard medium of the population here. Okay. So that's something to think about as well. What are we doing wrong? And why have we been doing it so wrong for so long? And how has that been affecting our lives? And I hope this conversation today helps someone. But thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing if you want to share something. And of course, we're going to be sharing shorts and statistics and everything because it's interesting to know and open up our eyes. And of course, we're going to share some shorts about funny situations that relate to this trending topic. So, see you next time. And don't forget to like and subscribe in our channels. We have YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. So, see you next time. Take care. Bye.